Morning, Resurrection Church. I'm sorry I couldn't be there this morning. I had something come up in my life, and I got to leave a little bit early. But I wanted to update you on what God is doing in Idaho. I bring greetings all the way from Idaho, from the beautiful state. My wife, Elizabeth, who's probably watching, and my three rugrats, Elijah, who's 5, and Nathaniel, who is 3, and my little son Gideon, who is 1. All of us say hello from Idaho, and we just want to say thank you for your partnership in the gospel. You are investing not only in the Detroit area in your own lives and in other church plants, but you are also making an impact in the lives of brothers and sisters in Idaho that God is calling out of darkness into light. And also brothers and sisters who are already in the light and need to grow. We are so grateful to God for your partnership and excited to see where God is going to lead this partnership in the future. Thankful to God for your pastor. He and I go way back. If you want some dirt on him, I'm happy to give it later. Message me. But we have a great relationship, a lot of soccer, a lot of wrestling, and a lot of discipleship, a lot of just solid conversations about the Lord and the gospel that go way back. So it's neat to see this partnership after years of the Lord just both of us following the path. I spent some time in Guam, I spent some time in Kentucky at seminary, and now I'm in Idaho planting Twin Falls Community Church, and you're partnering with us in that. And then it's neat to see where David's heart for Detroit, as we were driving around this town yesterday, David's heart for Detroit and for you, particularly in Lincoln Park, he loves you and he loves this area, and it's neat to see. I wanted to give you a quick update about what is happening in Idaho and why we landed in Idaho, particularly why did God and how did God lead us to Idaho? Some of you may have watched an earlier video of an interview I did with your pastor, but I wanted to just update you on what's going on. So my wife and I, about a year and a half ago, began praying specifically, Lord, where would you have us plant a church? In seminary, a lot of the issues with seminarians is they graduate from seminary, and the next question is, where do I submit my resume? And we find in Scripture that, okay, the Lord may have that for some, but really we wanted to ask the question, where is there a need, instead of where do I submit my resume? And so we began praying, Lord, where would you send us? And where is there a need that you could use us? And so we, after praying for a significant amount of time and doing a bunch of research and talking with our pastors and several other friends in the ministry, we developed 4 criteria for where the Lord would have us do ministry. And the first one was anything west, so somewhere west and beyond, Colorado and beyond. Why the west? Well, because there's not a lot of healthy churches out west. You go south, and actually you go north, there's more like revitalizations going on. You go down south, and there's a church on every corner. But if you go west, it's desolate. And so, we love the west. We love the outdoor life, camping. So we began praying. That was our first criteria. West, second criteria, a place that was rapidly growing, a small town rapidly growing. So we just began researching cities that are rapidly growing in the West, small, but in 5-10 years going to be much more significant. So we began looking. We looked in Wyoming, we looked in Idaho, we looked in Nevada, we looked in Utah, we looked in Colorado, we looked in California. And our research indicated that the fastest growing state in America is actually Idaho. It was actually surprising. So Idaho, if you don't know American geography, it's not near Iowa. That's the first thing that most people think. Idaho, oh, you guys have corn? No, it's actually Idaho potatoes. So, yeah, we moved out. We looked at. We were like, hey, Lord, we just want to go where you have us. And so Idaho's fastest growing state in America, and actually the three fastest growing states in America for 2018 and 2019, according to World Population Review and Census.gov, were Idaho, Utah, and Nevada. And so it kind of like zeroed our focus in on that area. And then, so we prayed, we're like, okay, so let's look. And then our third criteria was a place where there's not a lot of healthy churches. Not that there aren't any healthy churches, but that there aren't a whole lot of healthy churches. Because our burden is not just to plant churches, but to plant healthy churches that will multiply and plant more healthy churches. And then the fourth criteria was that it was a place where we could thrive as a family. There are literally places in Idaho and in the West where you could like be 3 hours away from the nearest Walmart. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just know that my family, how we work, we just wanted to be able to thrive. And what that meant was basically there's like a Costco and a Target. That's facetious, but actually I think we found the place by, yes, rapidly growing, but my wife was Googling Targets. So very spiritual, of course. So the Lord led us there. Long story short, led us there, and we were looking at houses. We purchased a house. Actually, we put an offer over the phone, and then after that, we got there. And you know what? We have faced adversity after adversity, but really, those adversities have only been tools for God to lead us to people, to build His kingdom. And so I'm just going to share one short story about a person that the Lord has led our direction, and I could just lay out story after story after story of where the Lord has used that house that we had prayed for literally years. We've been praying for the Lord to put us in the house He wanted us, next to the neighbors He wanted us, in the area He wanted us. So that particular house God has used in multiple ways to draw people to Him. And He does that by plumbing issues. Our house actually has had multiple plumbing issues. And it's not because we go to the bathroom a ton of times, but because the pipes are really bad. We got in the house actually about 5 leaks in. Let me back up. When the plumber came out to look at our plumbing, he looked up at the plumbing from the basement and he goes, I've never seen anything like that before. And I mean, of the list of things you don't want your plumber to say, that would rank pretty high of don't want to hear that. And so, anyway, so the Lord, we're like, Lord, you brought us to this house. This is providence. You knew what was going to happen. The next leak that happened, we were gone on a trip to Kansas City because my wife's grandmother passed away. And so while we were gone, an irrigation problem outside our house, a little leak resulted in the water trickling through our foundation, and it was not even it wasn't like a trickle, it was even just like a seep. It seeped through the foundation, but the seep was going on long enough that it got into 3 of our rooms and caused some pretty significant damage. So we got home, saw the damage, and long story short, the person that came out to look at it and to do the insurance adjustment was a part of a restoration company. And the guy came to our house, and as the conversations always go is, hey, what are you doing here in Idaho? Why'd you move here? And so my wife said, hey, we moved here actually to plant a church. And, his ears kind of perked up, and he said, well, what kind of church? And that question is always comes up next because there's a lot of LDS in our neighborhood and in our area who need Jesus, the real Jesus. And so, anyway, long story short, he gets talking and he says, well, man, we moved here from Wyoming, and we moved into this area, and we've had a hard time developing a Christian community. We're thirsty for the truth. And in fact, we've been here for 5 years, been plugged into our church, even serving in the ministry, but we have 0 friends. So he says, I don't normally do this. He hands his business card to my wife. But before he does, he writes down a phone number and says, hey, can you reach out to my wife? Like I said, we've been here 5 years, and she has no friends. And so that was the initiation of a relationship with this brother and his wife, and the Lord has since used it in a big way. He's just drinking up resources after resources, books I've been suggesting to him, and then he's used that leak also to bring in several unsaved people right into our house through our doors, and they're fixing this issue in the basement. And so God has been using so many different issues and problems in our house to just declare his glory to people walking through our doors. And it's been kind of a microcosm of 2020. You know, the Lord has a plan. And sometimes those plans are bumpy. But because of the cross and because of the empty tomb, we have to remember that God poured all his wrath out on Jesus. Not one drip, not one drop of wrath is reserved for us. So now Jesus only gives good gifts to those who trust in him, who have been redeemed. So the trial, that's a good gift. God is giving a good gift to us, and he is leading people to himself through those trials. And so I want you to know that the kingdom is advancing. Since that time of meeting that brother, we had our first meet and greet to plant our church, and we had 5 couples there with little ones and a handful of other couples and families that wanted to be there but that couldn't make it. And in that time, the Lord has already begun developing community with that handful of couples. We start our Bible studies, our regular weekly Bible studies. Our plan is to start on November 8th. Of course, that's subject to all the stuff going on with COVID and stuff. But we want you, Resurrection Church, to be praying for us. Pray next week, November 8th, that the Lord draws people to him. And all week he's drawing people to him. And that these people that come to the Bible study would have open ears and open hearts and open eyes to the truth of the gospel. Because we're going to start right away on just the story of the gospel, the story of the Bible, from Genesis to Jesus. So please pray with us and join us as partners in prayer for next week. God bless you, and I'm so thankful for your partnership in the gospel.